So I'm sure many of you have come across the, when you're looking at strategic planning and change, there's often a model SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. And it's quite a standard one that we use, or I don't use actually, but people use. And within appreciative inquiry, they've recently come up with another model that works with the appreciative approach, which is strengths, opportunities, aspirations and results. The strengths are the same on both. Where it differs is where you've got weaknesses, opportunities and threats. In this model, we just look at all of them as opportunities. So you will take the weaknesses and reframe them into how could those become opportunities. The opportunities are obviously of the same. And then threats, the things that you might fear going wrong, things that might be a threat to you as a business. You look at then how you can turn that around into an opportunity. So it's all about changing weaknesses and threats into opportunities, reframing them. Building on those then, your strengths and opportunities, you then look at aspirations, what you really want to be, planed to your strengths, and what results you want to achieve and how you would know when you've got there. So on the right-hand side of the SWOT and SOAR approach, it shows the differences there where the SWOT analysis focuses more on analysis, whereas SOAR is more action-focused. And then there's various things down there. One, the SWOT is top-down, whereas the SOAR approach is engaging people across all the different levels. And it's about implementing rather than just planning. So a lot of this is about engaging people at many different levels in the organisation and moving to action quite quickly. Many of the appreciative inquiry approaches like to get the whole system in the room, as they say. So if you can get the whole organisation in the room, now some organisations are way too big for that, but getting, again, a microcosm of the whole, representatives of that system in the room. So you can make decisions there and then, rather than having a meeting and then going away and having to talk to different people to involve them. So the green is the process, the SOAR, which we'll go through now, so you'll get an experience of that. The black here, the 5 I's, is the bigger process of appreciative inquiry, where you initiate a programme of change and you decide how you're going to approach it. So that would be that whole discussion. Do we use appreciative inquiry? Do we use clean? Do we use other approaches? We then inquire into the strengths of the organisation, what works well, what are you really proud of, etc. You imagine looking at the opportunities, you imagine all the different opportunities that are possible. You then innovate and get creative about what you want to be, and then you inspire for results and implement the results. So that's the really big picture. What we're going to do is look at SOAR within this. So with the SOAR questions that you have, I'm going to suggest now that we get into pairs going through these questions. So it might be you just take 1 or 2 from each of the headings, whichever questions appeal to you most, and inquire into the other person, you know, what is working well for you at the moment. Now, between you, agree a context. The common thing we have here is we're a clean community. So probably within the clean community context, I would say, just to make it something that's common. In an organisation, there would be a very clear common purpose before you start all of this. Okay. Off you go.
I find it much more difficult.
Okay, welcome back. Now, just to give you a sense that in organisations, you often would spend a whole day on these questions, if not longer. So it really is just a quick flavour of it, so you can get a sense of the types of questions and how they might be used. So hopefully you found that useful, and we're going to move on to the next stage, and then it'd be interesting to get your thoughts at the end. So what I'd like you to do now is to move into, with your pair still, to move into groups of 8. I'd like you to share the highlights of what's come out for you so we can get a sense of what it is that has come out from your conversations. And then a good clean question. And when all of that, what would you like to have happen? Okay, so this is planning future visioning. So this is moving into what you would like to have happen based on all the things you've been talking about. And to get it creative, and I know some of you have done some amazing things in the past, I'm going to suggest, and it's up to you what you actually do, you could come up with your future vision in the form of a song, a dance, a poem, a picture, words, whatever works for you.
Everybody does it as a natural flow
in a way towards being centred.
Just so that you see it getting bigger and bigger.
Get ready, because we are going to start now. So, as you can see, this approach does tend to generate rather a lot of energy, as I'm seeing all around the room, which is brilliant. So thank you very much for that. I'm seeing all sorts of movement going on, so I'm very curious to see what you've come up with. So we'll take one group at a time. So who would like to start?
Well, there's a movement for each of us which represented something out of the appreciative inquiry bit. We come up with a movement for each of us, which is combined together. And I'm saying that's because I have to start it.
Movements, they were radically different. When we did our practice, they were sort of a bit different, but by the time
well, that's a urgent change, you see. It keeps happening and changing all the time. So brilliant. Who'd like to go next?
Get in touch with your energy. Get in touch with the vision. And connect.
Excellent. So now for our final group.
What we wanted to evidence was working simultaneously on different levels. So we tried to set up something which we thought would be operating on a physical level whilst provoking you emotionally and stimulating you intellectually as well.
Left leg in, left leg out. In, out, in, that's what it's all about.
As you've got a sense, rush through an appreciative inquiry approach, but hopefully it's given you a flavour of what the energy can be generated, engaging, and lots of different levels of engagement as you talked about. So it'd be great just to get a few words from those of you who'd like to about what's come up for you about this approach, clean, what you might do differently. Just a few comments from those that would like to.
It's enabled me to free me and my blocks of being able to do a little bit of dirty and a little bit of clean, however, as long as I recognise them both when I'm using them.
So being able to recognise both and integrate. Yeah, excellent.
So thank you.
It's just so warm and positive. It's whatever's happening. You don't have to stay neutral of what do you do and, you know, hi, this is what I do and have you gone on holiday? What are you good at? And, what, you know, the very positive things that lead down to warm conversations.
it changes the energy state. I mean, we all came up with the movement, and and ours developed out of the words energy coming out so often in the conversation. It just changes our state, and once you're in a different state, you can do a completely different kind of work.
I think that people who might think that it was going to be soft and fluffy would be quite surprised when they actually have the questions asked of them. So I look forward to that. I didn't get one in my trio, but I could see that it was actually difficult to answer the questions. It's not things you think about every day.
Well, that's right, because some people do, but a lot of people don't think about these things. So it is focusing on something that works well and creating that energy.
I think one thing that was very important was the weakness as opportunities, instead of weaknesses coming up as a negative force. When you change them into opportunities, you can accept those weaknesses, and other things that you've been talking about tend to support positive action to address those weaknesses, I guess, and have them become opportunities. So that was really, really, really strong.
Just highlighting the strengths-based approach, so that I was thinking about what I will do rather than what would stop me.
Given that SWOT is so well recognised, do you point out to people that we're not doing SWOT, we're doing SOAR, and that therefore the weaknesses have turned into opportunities?
I will do, yes.
Because that was something I noticed in going through it myself, that the moment that there was a clear weakness, that because that had been consciously pointed out, it was easy to do that. Oh right, yes, that's a weakness, so what's the opportunity in it? Yes. Which, acted as a shortcut then to get into the new way of thinking.
We're sort of ecstatic, I think, or I was anyway, when we were meeting the other group. And that meant that there was something about not needing to push, but be included very quickly.
Yes, it is amazing how quickly people can come together and wanting to create something, because there's so much energy there to create rather than delving into the problems. And somehow the problems, it's like a hovercraft almost, I think. The problems sort of get hovercrafted over, they're not ignored, but somehow you rise above it and create something very different.
I was wondering if you could team up with Daniel Casasante and statistically prove that most groups who go through this end up doing the hokey-cokey.
Okay, just want to say thank you very much. Really enjoyed working with you. Love the energy. And if you want to ask me any more questions later, then please do. All right, then. Clap to all of you.